All right, we're live, guys. Another show for those who have been following along, or for our new viewers. Take the time, go to our YouTube channel, Rolland Market Mashup, subscribe, share it with a friend, like, whatever you got to do. And let's dive into it. Yesterday, dominant day. I think just all around broad rally, everything went up. And, there was obviously news of the treatment. Personally, I didn't really think the market was going to respond the way it did. I think there's clearly other reasons that it's probably trying to rally. And it looks like at least the Dow sector and the non-tech stocks might continue that rally today. We'll see. You never quite know what's going to happen at the opening bell. But Ford, great day yesterday. That kind of cut back a lot of the downside it had last week, and looks like it's kind of right back into business. Mike, I know you pointed out Honeywell had their earnings yesterday and clearly had some, or I don't even think they had their earnings. They just announced that they were going to the Dow Jones along with Salesforce. So those stocks are two stocks to watch today that are both popping.
I own a lot of Honeywell.
Amgen is the other stock going in, and Exxon is out, and RTX is out. I think there's one more out. I'm trying to Pfizer's out.
Yeah, so does that mean anything in your eyes?
Well, it's short term it does, because there's indexes that have to go in and out of whatever is in the Dow, but not that many. So if anything, if you were thinking of selling Honeywell, this is a good time, or vice versa with the stocks that are coming out. It's a good time.
I'll be selling it today.
No, but those stocks, because they're getting hit off of this, you're actually probably getting an opportunity to get in at a lower price.
What, Honeywell?
No, the stocks that are coming out.
Yeah.
If you were thinking of buying Pfizer, the next couple of days are probably the better days to buy it based on that.
Dan, HPQ looking nice.
It really is. I was actually last night kind of thinking about, in addition to the position I have, maybe looking at some call options for either a 20 or 21 strike price for Friday, just because they're so cheap. And obviously we've been patient on this position. It's done nice for us. And it's really, we've been building it up to this exact moment, which is earnings this week. So yeah, I think today I'm going to look at possible option plays to just expand on the position. I know I did that with Zillow like a year ago and just hit an absolute home run with the combination of options and owning the stock. So there's a lot of cheap options out there. It's not a strategy I usually do, but yeah, HPQ has been definitely trending up to their earnings. I don't know if that means that there's people that must know that they're going to have good earnings or what it means, but it looks like it's going to have another.
Turned down an offer to Xerox, like we were talking about a few months ago, for that price at a premium. They clearly have something going on they're pumped about. It'd be shocking if they didn't crush it.
That was also, keep in mind, that was before the pandemic. So I don't know how much the fundamentals have changed because of that. But
look,
I think that if anything, it's helped them when you look at what they're doing. And
it always comes down to what they say about the next quarter. Look what happened to Best Buy today.
What happened?
They came out with great earnings, and then they said they're not sure about the next quarter. The stock's down 4%.
I mean, that's just terrible leadership. I see that. It's like, I feel like there's certain guys that know how to work the analysts when it comes to, these earnings calls. There's a sentiment around it. Even the time, I read something on this, the time that these companies even release earnings, whether it's morning versus afternoon, how people are feeling. There's a lot that goes into this.
Well, there is a lot that goes into it, and Apple is the master at being able to downplay their numbers to the point where the analysts just expect everything that they say to be less than what it's going to be, which then becomes its own thing, right?
Yeah, seriously.
So
Salesforce
I think
is going to be an interesting stock to watch today, though, because the fact that they moved to the Dow and they're an all-time high category and they're flying right now just on momentum. Kind of curious to see if this is one of those names really along with Baba, which both have broken into all-time highs and just seem to be stocks that are getting favored right now. I'm wondering how high the sky is for those. And then also, Mike, I thought the article you sent yesterday about the CDC was interesting because you see, I don't know if this has something to do with that or if it's just an extension of yesterday, but the airlines and cruises seem to be rallying again today.
Yeah, I think I might buy some Boeing today.
Look, any of these tests that are short term is going to help, especially cruise ships and airlines. If you could get a test that takes less than 10 minutes to do, you can make sure everyone that enters the ship has the test.
And then even when you think about it, isn't Airbnb IPOing? Is that this week or next week?
I don't
Coming
know.
up.
Talk about, I am going to be throwing the kitchen sink at those guys. I don't even care what they come out at. I just know that's going to be a high flyer out of the gates. The writing's on the wall that they've been killing it, or else they wouldn't even be going public right now when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dad, go ahead.
No, it does matter where they come out, and you don't throw the kitchen sink on it because all the people inside the company are selling because they think it's a great value to come out at. And then if it opens higher, that means it's even a worse deal for anyone buying it. So
I mean, I'm a user of Airbnb probably as much as anyone in food delivery. As you guys know, I've been big on both those things, and I'm a big proponent on buying into what you use. And I think these times with the uncertainty of where people are living, everyone's moving, they're getting out of leases, they're trying new cities out. Even though I saw a piece, Seinfeld, like a piece he wrote that was pretty funny, where he's like, I know all these people talking about moving to Florida, Indiana, all these other states. That's all well and good. They're coming back to New York. It's not New York. So he was basically highlighting, like, yeah, have fun in wherever you're going for a few months. And then you're going to wake up one day and be like, well, this isn't New York City. So,
well, the thing is, though, they're not moving really to Indiana. They're moving to Miami. They're moving to cities or.
He was just highlighting there's something about New York that makes it New York, and you can't go anywhere in the world and get that.
Well, that could be the way it was, and it may not be like that for 5 to 10 years.
I don't buy it. I think I keep hearing that narrative. If anything, it gives you a great time to buy a place in New York.
Well, Barry Sternlicht was on today, and he was talking about the fact that all his friends, who are the wealthy hedge fund guys, they're all buying out of New York, getting out. The taxes are too high. The crime is the big thing. He said that's what's driving people out, even much more than the taxes.
Well, that'll change. Cuomo wants to make a run for president in 4 years. He's going to need to shape this place up. So
I don't think the narrative of Cuomo is very good.
It's not. But back to the Airbnb thing, the one thing I'd say is it does seem like companies that IPO in the last few years that are like really, really well-known companies have not held up well compared to their IPO price. Like you look at
I think this is a different story.
I mean, you could name them. They're just almost every single one of the companies that are like, unicorn style companies. I think Dad makes a good point that they get valued in a way that's going to pay those initial investors. And then you see the stock oftentimes take years to get back. Like look at Slack. It's almost been the same thing with all of them. But yeah, Airbnb.
There's been a lot of good ones too, though. You could, for every Slack, you can find one that's done the exact opposite. So
definitely, but those seem to not be like the unicorn style ones.
Airbnb, though, I think is a unique beast. Even with that Hotels Tonight play they made, I don't see that being. I think they're going to be a unicorn that's a unicorn on a next level with returns for stockholders. I'm buying that stock the first day they go public.
All right. Well, I like it. And then, I mean, Rocket Mortgage, again, it's insane. Yesterday, that stock was on literally a rocket ship. And then today, it touched 32 this morning briefly. Now it's at 30.68 pre-market, but trading on a lot of volume. I don't really know what the story is there. I think it's a recent IPO.
You know what? I think the story now is that the Robinhood gang has taken over the stock. And we know how far these stocks can run on retail. And it's interesting because the first couple of days, it did not look like the stock was in strong hands because the IPO did not really go that well. And then it just took hold and hasn't stopped. And to me, that's an indication that it's all retail. The whole thing.
And if you're right, just due to looking at what's happened in the last few months, that tells me the stock's running way higher. Just based on, like yesterday seemed to be the first day that it really caught radar. I know last week people were starting to talk about it, and like I just said, if it's anything like the NIOs and Nicolas of the world, I mean, this thing's just getting going.
Yeah, and I think one of the indicators would be, can you borrow stock easily? And I don't know if you can anymore.
To short it?
To short it. And that's the number one indicator that it's taken over by the crazies.
I'll tell you right now.
Or if they charge you
normal
interest.
Could short it. You could short it.
You could short it still. So yep. I mean, that's interesting. We'll have to watch that one. But it should be on everyone's radar for crazy action.
Well, Dad, looking at if you were to want to day trade this stock, just pulling up the chart, are there levels that you would be trying to get in at, whether it was for the long or the short? I know, like I said, it touched 32 this morning. And
yeah, I mean, the only way to play this, since there's not a lot of history, is to play breakouts on the long side, or if it breaks down from a previous day. So, I don't think I would play this thing today unless maybe it broke through 31.5 on the upside after the opening.
Yeah, I wrote down 32 just because that's where it touched this morning. So I figure.
Yeah, but there wasn't a lot of. I don't think there was a lot of volume there, so I don't really buy into that spike up when you look at the pre-market. But the stock is up from 28.75 or so where it closed. So it's got a lot of fluff in there at the moment. But the high yesterday, while it was open, was about 30. So on the downside, if you're looking for a place to maybe get in, that might be interesting.
30. Yeah, I don't want to say it's tough to imagine that stock going at 30. I actually could see it right off the open. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the market as a whole today? Like, obviously, that's a tough question to answer, but just
every day we got a lot of cross currents. I think the first thing you got to think about is the number one stock, which is Apple, and this is the first day it trades where the split. If you own the stock already, you get the split, and if you don't, I'm not sure if it's trading a when issued basis because I'm still seeing it as a normal stock. But my gut tells me that yesterday was probably the high of the stock for a while. I don't think it's coming through that level anytime soon. So I think Apple's going to be a drag on the market a little bit for a while. Maybe some of that money goes into Microsoft. I'm not so sure, but we'll see. Banks look to have a nice bid. Goldman's back to 209. JP Morgan's up $1. And those had a rough story yesterday, and then they kind of got a nice bid halfway through the day. The Republican convention last night, I thought was a good start for them.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ratings were, but
I'm sure they were way higher than the one the week before.
Well, I don't know, but I thought that they had a nice first night.
It was wild seeing CNN having to broadcast that, just watching a black senator, the way he was highlighting and praising Trump. I was just laughing. A Democratic senator from Georgia. I thought that was interesting.
Well, he was a state. He wasn't a senator. He was a state representative, right? In the state, the House of Georgia. I don't think
well,
he,
either way, I just thought it was comical. I feel like CNN was trying to just get that off air as quickly as possible. They just went over Steve Scalise. They didn't even broadcast him speaking, the guy that got shot. It's
Right.
just wild how biased that whole thing is.
Yeah, and I thought Herschel Walker's speech was good, and I thought the guy whose daughter died had a good speech.
He was great. Yeah, you know what it is? There's passion with the RNC that I just didn't really get last week in the DNC, but that's from an outsider point of view. I also keep getting texted from Biden's campaign in Colorado saying, just want to make sure you've got Joe's support with you. It's like, I don't know how you got my number.
I gave him your number.
Thanks, Dad. I had a feeling you
did. That's great. So are either you guys buying or
no? But to the market's point of view, I think the race is going to tighten up. I mean,
definitely.
The one thing that it was interesting listening to Barry Sternlet, who was on CNBC earlier. I mentioned it earlier. He reluctantly said he's voting for Biden. He almost reminds me of one of these guys that says, I have to say I'm voting for Biden because my friends will absolutely crucify me if I don't. But everything he was saying was, I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like how left Harris is. I don't like the capital gains, law and order. And then he says, but the environment's important to me.
Let's be real. Obama, his facial expression said it everything last week. He was extremely just kind of like, are you kidding me? This is what we're throwing out there this year. Like, it was in a way where it was like, this is a joke, guys. Like, it's hard for me to back this. So the whole thing is funny.
Well, it's pretty serious for a lot of people. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn ready.
People. So are you guys making any moves
to see the volatility?
For sure.
I don't know what moves I'm going to make today. I'm happy that some of these stocks are moving higher. And whether or not I'll take profits on them, I don't know if it's enough of a run. I did buy more Ford yesterday.
Now we're talking, Dad. I'm glad I didn't sell Ford.
Dad, hold on a second. Did you buy more Ford, like just into the strength? At what point in the day did you buy more Ford?
Well, I was watching the chart, and I thought when it broke through 96, which was pretty late in the day, that looked like a good level to me. And it hasn't really moved that much. It's only up 7 cents from there. But
I mean, that's a decent amount for that company.
Big time.
Yeah, they did make an announcement that they're readjusting one of their plants, so the F-150 is going to be an electric truck. So I don't know if that is, a major positive or just a minor positive. But Mosaic is another one where I sold a little bit and I'm looking to buy if it comes back on weakness. This has been a great trading stock between 17.5 and 18.5.
I get that. I've been doing swing trading with Zillow, as you know, Dan, and I'm going to continue that. I got in there yesterday under 83 at 82.98, and it's trading above 84 pre-market. That's been treating me well, the ins and outs of that the last couple of weeks.
And let's, we talked about Boeing.
Yeah, I own Zillow.
Yeah, I just have a hard time holding on to Zillow. I like just getting in and out of it.
You're back on Zillow. Okay.
Well, I've been back.
Talk about Boeing, because obviously yesterday they were the high flyer, and it looks like today that's going to continue. So it seems like, what are your thoughts on Boeing?
Well, no, I mean, we've talked about Boeing, and it's hard to pick the bottom of Boeing. That's why yesterday we were saying every $5. I mean, this is an example. You could have bought it at 170, 175, and today at 180.
But it's still cheap as hell. When you think about it, we're going to be talking back on this, looking at this show as, wow, Boeing was in the hundreds, under 200 at one point in 2020.
Look,
I know it was under 100 in March.
I remember when Boeing was under 100. It doesn't.
Yeah, you remember that. I bought some at 89.
Right. But look, Boeing will do well if the airlines get back on track.
The world's not ending. They're getting back on track, and they're half defense in bed with the U.S. government. So where is Boeing going?
I think the biggest challenge right now with trying to figure out this market is a couple weeks ago, call it maybe 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, there was this almost false pivot where it looked like these recovery stocks were going to kind of take place and take over the rally. And it lasted for all of like 2 days. And I think it tricked a lot of people into shifting out of technology, getting into those names. I'll admit, that's when I bought Ford, bought it at the wrong time. I'm happy to see it starting to go back up. I lost some money on Dave and Buster's, and I was like trying to get ahead of that whole reopen trade, and it ended up not happening. And now I'm sitting here wondering, is that still the trade? And is it just a little bit later than everybody thought because the market's not going to hand you a layup? It might give you signs of what's to come. And then I go back to what that Thomas Lee guy was saying, who has been really, really accurate with predicting where the market's going to go ever since February. And he was calling for a big recovery rally last week, and clearly that didn't happen. But just curious if we're just a week later and it's still happening, it just no one's gonna ever get the timing right. And I look at
at the bottom line, we're closer than we were a couple of weeks ago to a vaccine, and numbers have been going down. Now, caution, you have to look at it with a lot of caution though, because let's face it, Europe is going up now. So it seems to be a seesaw on the actual numbers going up and down. And but the key is that we're closer to a vaccine or better treatment. And as people have more confidence in that, the numbers going up and down won't matter as much.
We had a comment on thoughts on Square, which I know we've talked about in the show.
My personal opinion on Square is if you're a long-term investor, obviously it's a great company, and I'm sure it's going to have massive gains over the next decade, 2 decades. If you're a short-term investor, I think you got to keep your eye on technology as a whole and see that at least right now, it looks like it might be trying to take a little bit of a backseat to other stocks. It's had a hell of a run, and Square is going to go with the technology sector. It's literally gone from, I think, 45 to over 150 in a matter of months. So it wouldn't.
This stock is still in a huge uptrend, almost too steep, for my blood. So
I got out at 128 thinking I was being clever.
Right. Well, that's why I'm looking back at the chart here. It's hard to play on the long side unless it maybe gets down to the 130 to 134 level.
I would not be buying Square here at all. In saying that, there's no doubt it could run up more, like we've seen.
Well, if you're playing momentum, it would have to make a new high for me to get excited and get back in. If you're just looking for a trade.
Yeah, but if you're, like Dan said, the long run, they're a home run. Square is going to be a great stock to own in the decade ahead.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, but it's.
I think you got to look at it.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just going to say, you got to look at, if you're looking at technology in general right now, and you see that the futures point to tech being down today, you got to look at the names pre-market that aren't down to see where there still is strength in technology. Like clearly, Alibaba has been trending up, and they just broke to all-time highs, and it looks like that's at the beginning of a new trend. Salesforce just broke all-time highs. Those stocks to me are what Square did a few weeks ago.
Google's another big one.
I just think this market gives you. Yeah, I think these markets will give you these massive short-term rallies in stocks, and then it shifts to another group. And I think that the move in Square is probably over for now. I'm looking at Salesforce this morning, and I tried getting in pre-market at 213, and as soon as I placed my order, it jumped to 214 in minutes. Dad, if you were to look at Salesforce, are there any levels? That's a ticker CRM. Are there any levels that you would be looking at this stock?
Well, this is going to get totally affected by this move into the Dow. So I would not be buying it for maybe a couple of weeks till things settle down, because I think you're getting indexers are going to have to buy this thing. So that to me makes it impossible to get a good reading. I mean, I love this stock if it gets back down to right below 200.
But if you were gonna, let's say, trade it today just on volume alone, would you be looking at like 217 for a breakout level, or are you just staying clear of it altogether?
I'm just staying clear. I don't want to. This is where the pros and the indexers are totally involved and take over a stock. I mean,
Gotcha.
to play Honeywell, this or any of these other names, other
Stay clear.
than unless you were trying to get in the names that are coming out of the Dow, I don't see where the advantage is here.
But then, how about getting out of the names, like taking
Same thing.
No, like Honeywell, for example. Is this a good time to jump out of that?
Well, it's probably a good time if you were a short-term player to sell Honeywell.
I'm up huge on that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would use this as a way to get out.
Because whenever you can take advantage for our viewers, if you own a value stock that all of a sudden turned into a growth stock overnight, that could be a good sign for you to take some profits off the table.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way because it's not turning into a growth stock.
Well, no, right now it seems like it has the last couple of weeks.
Well, no, but today, because of the Dow,
that's what I'm getting at. That's not a stock that's usually that acts like that. So take advantage of it.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Let's wrap this up then. I mean, do you guys have any stock picks of the day? I feel like we've given a lot now. Just for starters, I know I've brought up Planet Fitness a lot lately. They've been acting well. They continue to act well. I think they might get rewarded if they show that they're able to do well in this environment. And I think gyms are starting to come back. And I personally went to a Planet Fitness a couple of days ago. It was packed. So I've been looking at that, but I don't even know why I bring them up because they're not one of my morning players. I'm not even going to look at them as a watch list.
Well, when you look at their friction, it's the reason, I've been big on Planet Fitness too, Dan. I don't own them currently, but I will soon. Their barrier to entry is very low. For someone, even the notion of maybe, I put on some weight during the pandemic. I'm a bit iffy about going back to the gym, but let me at least take that first step and sign up. Right? Like that's a big thing with the Planet Fitness of how cheap that monthly $10 a month membership. There's a lot going for them. I think that's a good play.
One stock we've never talked about, and we should today because Danny's on a golf course, is ELY, Callaway. This stock has been on a move since March. It's up almost 500%.
Wow. Wasn't on that one.
It's up over 500% since March.
Yeah.
Callaway.
Why didn't I just have all my money in them?
400%. It's
what's the ticker?
ELY.
I mean, to me, it's honestly probably a great shorting opportunity. Let's be real. I think golf became a sexy topic during the pandemic because it was one of the few outdoor activities people were doing. Callaway is not a stock that should be having those kind of moves. I think historically,
are you seeing, what's the golf like? Are you seeing
like around Masters go up 1%, and other than that,
are you seeing golf become more popularized?
I mean, yeah, but like I think there's only room for so much growth for a company like Callaway to capitalize on what's most likely a pretty short-term spike in regular people like you maybe playing more golf. Like I just think that story is so overdone.
I told you I might play a round in Arizona in November.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
That's shocking.
The stock was 22 and change before the pandemic, and it's 19 and change now.
Oh, so it got demolished in March along with the rest of the market, you're saying.
Right.
Well, yeah, and look, that's a different story because Callaway probably never actually saw any business decline during the pandemic. They probably did really well, actually. So
you just changed the whole narrative.
Yeah, I just changed the narrative. I didn't look at where they were coming from or what was going on. But I'm not. Yeah, look, I love golf, but I have no interest in golf stocks. So they're not exciting enough for me. Just like the games that are exciting people. Zillow moves on zero volume, which is crazy.
I know. It's such an easy swing trade, though.
Well, it's just
Well,
it's such
the
a
big volume names today are the same ones: NIO, American Airlines, and Rocket. Those are the three big ones right now.
Carnival Cruise Line's moving pretty well on a
And
lot of money.
Carnival's about fifth.
Dad, before we end this, if you were to look at the Carnival chart, there a level on that you would play a trade for either side.
Yeah, Carnival's chart
I
is,
kind of wrote down.
you know, they talk about the V recovery. This looks like an L. So it's near the bottom. I mean, I think there's upside if things can turn around. I could see this thing getting to 1989 if you look at the 50-day.
So are you buying some Carnival?
If you were to play it,
I mean, you got to look at which day to buy it, right?
Yeah. There's
It's got a nice move. It's already up from 14 to 16 and change. So you got to really be careful with this one. But if it does break through 16 and a half, it looks like it's got some room.
that's the level I wrote down. Yeah, I'm jumping in on a day trade if it breaks
let's make some
16
money,
and a
guys.
half. That's what I was thinking. Cool.
Enjoy the day.